Oh, well, on to this next report. It has always been the scheme of La Republique to assimilate the southern Cameroons. Well, as tradition demands, the Sacred Society of the Village is the sole institution responsible for the choosing and enthronement of a fund. This is the role that obtains in all the fundoms and chiefdoms in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. In respect to this, by default, the choice of who is the new phone is the people's affair and not a stranger's affair, especially a stranger imposing a phone on the people. In an attempt to destroy the strong traditions, cultures of the people of Amazonia, colonial authorities are fabricating chiefs and imposing funds as well on the people. Now, it is almost 5 years now that the people of Koba village have been without a traditional leader, all thanks to an empty attempt rather by the colonial administrator to impose an unwanted leader on the people. Sons and daughters of Koba village have protested the imposition of an unwanted chief by the colonial divisional officer for Konye. Now we're wondering, how can a stranger be the one to decide who is the right heir to the throne in a village?
Well, there is an atmosphere of anger and retaliation in Koba village provoked by the colonial divisional officer Konye. Tensions have erupted in Koba, a village in the Konye local government area of the Atlantic zone of Amazonia, as villagers protest what they describe as the forceful imposition of a chief by the colonial divisional officer, DO of Konye, Ate Moses Ndef. The colonial divisional officer went ahead and instructed those who spearheaded the protest for the enthronement process of the fake chief by the so-called colonial forces of law and order. On Wednesday, December 6th, in a show of dissatisfaction, angry locals took their protest to the office of the colonial senior divisional officer of Meme County, Chamberlain in Tuandong, demanding justice. At the premises of the Meme Colonial SDO's office, the irritated inhabitants expressed their frustration with what they consider a dictatorship orchestrated by the colonial DO, coupled with recent arbitrary arrests in the village. Now let's get a feel of the video.
These are villagers of Oda in Kone subdivision. On Friday, they marched to the office of the senior divisional officer, marched to the office of the divisional officer of Meme, marched to the office of the senior. These are villagers of Koba in Konye subdivision. On Friday, they marched to the office of the senior divisional officer of Meme, protesting that the divisional officer of Konye, Ata Moses Ndiep, has been using his office to impose somebody as chief of Koba. On their placards, they express worries against their divisional officer.
So it disturbs the peace for Koba, for chief. Every time we suffer, Mr. Mbele Smith, he suffer with all the time.
At the SDO's office, the first assistant senior divisional officer for Meme attended to them and said their worries will be tabled at the appropriate quarters and that the process of selecting their king will be communicated to them. The people say they have a lot of challenges with the absence of a chief in Koba community.
This aspect that the DO for Konye is imposing us a candidate who is not the choice of the people. And because of this, we are not accepting this candidate. So that is why we are here today to tell the SDO to come back to our issue and resolve it once and for all. And to even tell the DO for Konye that, let him listen to us. The village is our village. We know our culture more than him. We are those who make the choice and present to him, not making the choice and present to us. It has never happened that way.
They went on to denounce the DO's choice, Mbele Smith, stating that Francis Bolo is the choice of the people and that Mbele Smith was chosen by the divisional officer of Konye and imposed on the people without any consultative talks.
Na DO for Konye, na iputi, no be we. We are chief na Mr. Bolo Francis, maybe we are chief for Koba. So Mr. Smith will not know it like our chief for Koba.
In several occasions, the divisional officer of Konye has ordered for the arrest of some kingmakers and title holders of the village.
And he is going on now with that young man, intimidating us, holding people, locking people. I myself, I was locked up in Konye for crimes that I don't even know.
The recent one was the arrest of the cupbearer of that community.
So recently, our cupbearer, who is the Muele Mboka, came to Kumba for his own personal issues, and he was just caught up illegally. I say illegal because no warrant was even issued to him.
The Kuba people explain that the absence of a king till date is as a result of an administrative blunder made by the divisional officer of Konye subdivision.
Oh, well, as if it's the first time this kind of incident is happening in Amazonia. The assimilation agenda continues, and we're seeing it in this imposition of fund and chiefs in the southern Cameroon's territory. While talking to the press, they disclosed their objection to the candidate forced upon them for the traditional ruler's position, emphasizing that the individual is not supported by the local population. Now, Musima Ernest, a spokesperson for the Koba local, said the colonial DO for Konye is imposing on us a candidate, the choice of the people. Because of this, we are not accepting this candidate.
Well, Musima Ernest further detailed instances where the colonial divisional officer reportedly intimidated villagers and arrested those protesting against leadership. In his words, he said, I was locked up in Konya in a house that has not got a father. Things will never move well. So we have difficulties in leadership. We need a head in the house. Representatives of the aggrieved villagers were later received by the first assistant colonial senior divisional officer of Meme.
Well, during discussions, the colonial first assistant SDO pledged to address their concerns and seek a resolution on the ongoing dispute. From the colonial SDO's office, the locals proceeded to the Kangaroo High Court of Kumba, where they demanded the release of relatives reportedly unjustly arrested in connection with a protest. It is noteworthy that Koba village has been without a traditional ruler since 2017, and the recent attempt to impose leadership has heightened tensions. This incident mirrors similar occurrences in so many other parts of southern Cameroon's Amazonia.
Recently, accusations were leveled against the colonial SDO of Kupe Monanguba and the colonial DO of Nguti, who were accused of imposing a chief on the Mayamen village in the Atlantic zone of Amazonia. The act of appointing traditional rulers against the will of villagers by La Republic to Cameroon colonial government administrators has raised concerns about local autonomy and traditional leadership in Amazonia.
This isn't an isolated case. Well, it is a well-planned move of the La Republic to Cameroon colonial administration to transform the funds and chiefs in Amazonia into mere auxiliaries and their proxies, the proxies to the colonial administration, and not really there to serve the objective of that position and their subjects. Well, before this case, the colonial divisional officer for Menchun attempted to desecrate the customs and traditions of the people of Esu village by opening file for aspirants. Since when did the traditionals too become a job you apply for? He opened this, we brought you this report where he opened a file for aspirants who wish to be the funds to drop their candidacy applications in his office. While the scenario is visible in Bamising as their traditional leader and now ruler have been transferred from the position of the custodian of the tradition to a mere auxiliary to the La Republic du Cameroon colonial government. He is now at the service of the colonial administration and has even publicly taken a stand to sell out sons and daughters of this fandom, something we brought to you as well.